The Twilight Zone is an American television anthology series created by Rod Serling. It is a series of unrelated stories containing drama, psychological thriller, fantasy, science fiction, suspense, and/or horror, often concluding with a macabre or unexpected twist. A popular and critical success, it introduced many Americans to serious science fiction and abstract ideas through television and also through a wide variety of Twilight Zone literature. The program followed in the tradition of earlier shows like Tales of Tomorrow, which also dramatized the short story, What You Need, and science fiction theater, as well as radio programs such as The Weird Circle, Dimension X, X-1 and the radio work of Serling's hero, dramatist Norman Corwin. The success of the series led to a feature film, a radio series, a comic book, a magazine, and various other spin-offs that span 5 decades, including 2 revival television series. The first ran on CBS and in syndication in the 1980s, the second ran on UPN from 2002 to 2003. In 2013, TV Guide ranked it number 4 in its list of the 60 greatest dramas of all time. Television history. Background: as a boy, Rod Serling was a fan of pulp fiction stories. As an adult, he sought topics with themes such as racism, government, war, society and human nature in general. Serling decided to combine these 2 interests as a way to broach these subjects on television at a time when such issues were not commonly addressed. Throughout the 1950s, Serling established himself as one of the more popular names in television. He was as famous for writing televised drama as he was for criticizing the medium's limitations. His most vocal complaints concern censorship, which was frequently practiced by sponsors and networks. "I was not permitted to have my senators discuss any current or pressing problem," he said of his 1957 production The Arena, intended to be an involving look into contemporary politics. To talk of tariff was to align oneself with the Republicans. To talk of labor was to suggest control by the Democrats. To say a single thing germane to the current political scene was absolutely prohibited. The time element. CBS purchased a teleplay in 1958 that writer Rod Serling hoped to produce as the pilot of a weekly anthology series. The time element marked Serling's first entry in the field of science fiction. Plot: many years after the end of World War II, a man named Peter Jensen visits a psychoanalyst, Dr. Gillespie. Jensen tells of a recurring dream where he tries to warn people about the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, but in his dream the warnings are disregarded. Dr. Gillespie insists that time travel is impossible given the nature of temporal paradoxes. Jensen finally reveals that he was actually in Honolulu on December 7, 1941. While on the couch, Jensen falls asleep once again and dreams that the Japanese planes flying overhead shoot and kill him. In Dr. Gillespie's office, the couch Jensen was lying on is now empty. Dr. Gillespie goes to a bar where he finds Jensen's picture on the wall. The bartender tells him that Jensen had tended there, but was killed during the Pearl Harbor attack. Production: with the time element script, Serling drafted the fundamental elements that would distinguish the series still to come, a science fiction fantasy theme, opening and closing narration, and an ending with a twist. However, the time element was purchased only to be shelved indefinitely. This is where things stood when Burt Granett, the new producer for Westinghouse Diesel Playhouse, discovered the time element in CBS vaults while searching for an original Serling script to add prestige to his show. The time element debuted on November 24, 1958, to an overwhelmingly delighted audience of television viewers and critics alike. The humor and sincerity of Mr. Serling's dialogue made the time element consistently entertaining, offered Jack Gould of the New York Times. Over 6,000 letters of praise flooded Granett's offices. Convinced that a series based on such stories could succeed, CBS again began talks with Serling about the possibilities of producing The Twilight Zone. Where Is Everybody? Was accepted as the pilot episode and the project was officially announced to the public in early 1959. The time element was not aired on television again until it was shown as part of a 1996 all-night sneak preview of the new cable channel TVLAND. It is available in an Italian DVD boxed set titled I Confini della Realtà I Tesseri Perduti. The Twilight Zone Season 1 Blu-ray boxed set released on September 14, 2010 offers a remastered high-definition version of the original Diesel Playhouse production as a special feature. Original series. The series was produced by Kayuka Productions, Incorporated, a production company owned and named by Serling. It reflects his background in central New York State and is named after Kayuka Lake, on which Ithaca College is located. Aside from Serling, who wrote or adapted nearly two-thirds of the series' total episodes, writers for The Twilight Zone included leading authors such as Charles Beaumont, Ray Bradbury, Earl Hamner, Jr., George Clayton Johnson, Richard Matheson, Reginald Rose, and Jerry Solomon. Many episodes also featured new adaptations of classic stories by such writers as Ambrose Bierce, Jerome Bixby, Damon Knight, John Collier, and Louise Paget. Twilight Zone's writers frequently used science fiction as a vehicle for social comment, as networks and sponsors who censored controversial material from live dramas were less concerned with seemingly innocuous fantasy and sci-fi stories. Frequent themes on The Twilight Zone included nuclear war, McCarthyism, and mass hysteria, subjects that were avoided on more serious primetime television. Episodes such as He's Alive, or The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street offered specific commentary on current events and social issues. Other stories, such as The Masks, I Dream of Jeannie, or Mr. Denton on Doomsday were allegories, parables, or fables that reflected the moral and philosophical choices of the characters. Despite his esteem in the writing community, Serling found the series difficult to sell. Few critics felt that science fiction could transcend empty escapism and enter the realm of adult drama. In a September 22, 1959, interview with Serling, Mike Wallace asked a question illustrative of the times. Why, you're going to be, obviously, working so hard on The Twilight Zone that, in essence, for the time being and for the foreseeable future, you've given up on writing anything important for television, right? While Serling's appearances on the show became one of its most distinctive features, with his clip delivery still widely imitated today, he was reportedly nervous about it and had to be persuaded to appear on camera. Serling often steps into the middle of the action while the characters remain oblivious to him, but on one notable occasion they are aware of his presence. In the episode A World of His Own, a writer with the power to alter his reality objects to Serling's narration, and promptly erases Serling from the show. In Season 2, due to budgetary constraints, the network decided against Serling's wishes to cut costs by shooting some episodes on videotape rather than film. The requisite multi-camera setup of the videotape format precluded location shooting, severely limiting the potential scope of the storylines, and the experiment was abandoned after just 6 episodes. The original series contains 156 episodes. Unlike Seasons 1 through 3, Season 4 consists of 1-hour episodes. Season 5 returned to the half-hour format. First revival. It was Serling's decision to sell his share of the series back to the network that eventually allowed for a Twilight Zone revival. As an in-house production, CBS stood to earn more money producing The Twilight Zone than it could by purchasing a new series produced by an outside company. Even so, the network was slow to consider a revival, turning down offers from the original production team of Rod Serling and Buck Horton and later from American filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola. CBS gave the new Twilight Zone a green light in 1984 under the supervision of Carla Singer, then Vice President of Drama Development. While the show did not come close to matching the enduring popularity of the original, some episodes including the love story Her Pilgrim Soul, and J. Michael Straczynski's Dream Me a Life were critically acclaimed. In a tribute to the original series, the opening credits include a brief image of Rod Serling. Rod Serling's Lost Classics. In the early 1990s, Richard Matheson and Carol Serling produced an outline for a 2-hour made-for-TV movie which would feature Matheson adaptations of 3 yet unfilmed Rod Serling short stories. Outlines for such a production were rejected by CBS until early 1994, when Serling's widow discovered a complete shooting script authored by her late husband, while rummaging through their garage. Serling showed the forgotten script to producers Michael O'Hara and Lawrence Horowitz, who were significantly impressed by it. "I had a pile of scripts, which I usually procrastinate about reading. But I read this one right away and, after 30 pages, called my partner and said, 'I love it,'" recalled O'Hara. "This is pure imagination, a period piece, literature some might say wordy. If Rod Serling's name weren't on it, it wouldn't have a chance at getting made." Eager to capitalize on Serling's celebrity status as a writer, CBS packaged Where the Dead Are with Matheson's adaptation of the theater, debuting as a 2-hour feature on the night of May 19, 1994, under the name Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's Lost Classics. The title represents a misnomer, as both stories were conceived long after Twilight Zone's cancellation. Written just months before Serling's death, Where the Dead Are starred Patrick Bergin as a 19th-century doctor who stumbles upon a mad scientist's medical experiments with immortality. The theater starred Amy Irving and Gary Cole as a couple who visit a cineplex where they discover that the feature presentation depicts their own lives. James Earl Jones provided opening and closing narrations. Critical response was mixed. Gannett News Service described it as taut and stylish, a reminder of what can happen when fine actors are given great words. USA Today was less impressed, even suggesting that Carol Serling should have left these two unproduced mediocrities in the garage where she found them. Ultimately, ratings proved insufficient to justify a proposed sequel featuring 3 scripts adapted by Matheson. Second revival. A second revival was attempted by UPN in 2002, with narration provided by Forrest Whitaker. 2 of Serling's own teleplays were recycled. Broadcast in an hour format with 2 half-hour stories, it was cancelled after 1 season, although reruns continue to air in syndication, and have aired on My Network TV since summer 2008. Potential third revival. In December 2012, it was reported that Bryan Singer is developing and executive producing a third revival television series for CBS Television Studios. A writer for the series has not yet been chosen and the program has not yet been pitched to any networks. However, CBS, who broadcast the original series and first revival, is reportedly interested. In February 2013, Singer told TG Daily that the project was still in development and that he hoped to direct the pilot and have a list actors appear on the revival. The following month, he told IGN that a writer with whom he had previously worked was in negotiations to join the revival and that he felt passionate towards the original series and the planned revival. Other media, film. Twilight Zone, the movie is a 1983 feature film produced by Steven Spielberg. It starred Dan Aykroyd, Albert Brooks, John Lithgow, and the late Vic Morrow and Scatman Crothers. The film remade 3 classic episodes of the original series and included 1 original story. John Landis directed the prologue and the first segment, Steven Spielberg directed the second, Joe Dante the third, and George Miller directed the final segment. The Landis-directed episode became notorious for the helicopter accident during filming, which caused the deaths of Morrow and 2 child actors. Potential film. Actor Leonardo DiCaprio is planning to make a new movie with Warner Brothers, as The Twilight Zone is his favorite TV series. However, unlike the first film, which was an anthology feature, it will be a big-budget, SFX-laden continuous story possibly based on classic episodes of the series such as The Eye of the Beholder, To Serve Man, or any of the 92 scripts written by Rod Serling, to which Warner Brothers owns the rights. One plot leaked from the script tells about a pilot who time travels 96 years into the future. Cloverfield director Matt Reeves was signed in 2011 to direct the movie, but left in 2012 to direct Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. On August 16, 2013, Joseph Kosinski was announced to direct the version. The studio hired and Eli Kulight to pen the screenplay for the film and will not be an anthology but use various elements from the A-Euro-OE Twilight Zone Euro universe. Games, board game. In 1964, Ideal released a board game, the Twilight Zone game, at the height of the show's popularity. The game consisted of a cardboard playing surface, 4 colored playing pieces, a colored spinning wheel and 12-door playing cards. Pinball game. In 1993, Midway released a wide-body pinball game, Twilight Zone. After his Addams Family pinball became the best-selling pinball machine of all time, Midway gave designer Pat Lawler creative control over the game. The game uses Golden Earring's 1982 hit song Twilight Zone as its theme song. The game sold 15,235 units. Video game. A text-adventure video game was also published in 1988 by Gigabit Systems Incorporated for the PC and Amiga. The game has been panned by players for various problems. A new casual adventure game is in development based on the Twilight Zone. It's in development by Legacy Interactive and Sparkplug Games. It is tentatively set to be released in 2012. Comic books. Western Publishing published a Twilight Zone comic book, first under their Dell Comics imprint for 4 issues, one in 1961 and 3 further issues in 1962, with the first 2 published as part of their long-running 4-color anthology series as issue numbers 1173 and 1288, and then 2 further one-shots numbered separately in Dell's unique fashion as 01-860-207 and 12-860-210 respectively. Western then restarted the series under their Gold Key imprint with a formal issue number 1, which ran 92 issues from 1962 to 1979, with the final issue being published in 1982. Several of the stories were reprinted in their Mystery Comics Digest, which mention the title on the covers. A wide range of artists worked on the title, including Jack Sparling, Reed Crandall, Lee Elias, George Evans, Russ Jones, Joe Orlando, Jerry Robinson, Mike Zagorski, Dan Spiegel, Frank Thorne and Alex Toth. In 1990, Now Comics published a new comic series with using the title logo from the 1985 revival. The publisher made great efforts to sign established sci-fi fantasy writers, including Harlan Ellison, adapting his story Crazy as a Soup Sandwich. In 2008, students at the Savannah College of Art and Design partnered with Walker and Company to create graphic novels based on 8 episodes of the series through 2009. The first 4 were Walking Distance, The After Hours, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, and The Odyssey of Flight 33, and were released in December 2011. The other 4 were The Midnight Sun, Death's Head Revisited, The Big Tall Wish, and Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? Comics publisher Dynamite Entertainment ran a multi-issue series, written by J. Michael Straczynski and with art by Goe Villanova, beginning in December 2013. Literature. Serling novelized several of his original scripts, which were published in the anthology Stories from the Twilight Zone, More Stories from the Twilight Zone and New Stories from the Twilight Zone. These have all been reprinted several times, including in an omnibus, The Twilight Zone, Complete Stories. In 1995, DAW Books published the anthology books Journeys to the Twilight Zone, Return to the Twilight Zone, and Adventures in the Twilight Zone. In September 2009, Tor Books published Twilight Zone, 19 original stories on the 50th anniversary, to mark the 50th anniversary of the series. It contains stories by 20 authors such as R.L. Stine and Timothy Zahn, as well as an introduction by Rod Serling. Music. Television series. Season 1's moody title theme for The Twilight Zone was composed by Bernard Herrmann. Other contributors to the music for the original television show are Jerry Goldsmith, Nathan Scott, Nathan Van Cleve, Leonard Rosenman, Frederick Steiner, and Franz Waxman. The well-known Twilight Zone theme that began in the 2nd season was written by avant-garde composer Marius Constant. The theme for the 1985 The Twilight Zone television series was performed by the Grateful Dead. Jonathan Davis, of Korn, composed the theme music for the 2002 revival. In the film, the music for Twilight Zone, the movie was composed by Jerry Goldsmith. Influence in popular culture. Many musicians have written and performed music based on the Twilight Zone, including, 2 Unlimited, Average White Band, John Cale, Dr. John, David Dubowski, John Fay, Golden Earring, Michael Hurley, Iron Maiden, Mekong Delta, Manhattan Transfer, The Residents, Rush, Anthrax, Van Morrison, Raymond Scott, Sly and Robbie, The Ventures, Rush, Band, and John Williams. Radio. Beginning in 2002, episodes of the original The Twilight Zone were adapted for radio, with Stacy Keach taking Serling's role as narrator and produced by Carl Amari of Falcon Picture Group. Each episode features a current Hollywood celebrity, including Jason Alexander, Blair Underwood, Lou Gossett, Jr., Michael York, Jim Caviezel, Jane Seymour, Don Johnson, Sean Astin, Luke Perry and others in the title roles. The series is broadcast on hundreds of radio stations from coast to coast and over Sirius XM. The station list and episodes for download, including 3 free episodes, are available at the official website at www.twilightzoneradio.com. Scripts. Beginning in 2001, Gauntlet Press began publishing collections of original scripts from The Twilight Zone by Charles Beaumont, Richard Matheson, and Rod Serling. A 10-volume signed, limited edition series of all 92 of Rod Serling's scripts, authorized by his wife, Carol Serling, began yearly publication in 2004. Many of the scripts contain handwritten edits by Serling himself and differ in significant ways from the aired versions. Most volumes contain an alternate version of a selected script. The script for The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street has been published into 7th grade reading books in the form of a play. Stage productions. Live theater productions of the original episodes can be seen in Los Angeles and Seattle, where Theatre Schmeater has continuously produced a late-night series, The Twilight Zone live with permission of the Serling estate, since 1996. In 2009, Masquerade, a Chennai-based theatre group, produced Dystopia, loosely based on the episodes The Obsolete Man, and 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. In 2011, the Penn State University theatre group, No Refund Theatre, produced a stage adaptation of The Twilight Zone. It included the episodes The Eye of the Beholder, The Midnight Sun, and Nothing in the Dark. It was directed by Anthony Arbeza. Theme park attractions. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is a theme park attraction based on the original series. Designed by Walt Disney Imagineering, the attraction is located at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Florida, Disney California Adventure and Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris. Tokyo DisneySea in Japan has a different version that does not carry on the Twilight Zone theme, except the 1985 version, due to cultural reasons and constraints in licensing for the Oriental Land Company, owner and operator of the Tokyo parks. See also: Science fiction on television, Night Gallery, The Outer Limits. References. Bibliography. Albarella, Tony, ed. As Timeless as Infinity, The Complete Twilight Zone Scripts of Rod Serling. Colorado Springs, Colorado, Gauntlet Press. Volume 1. ISBN 978-1-887368-71-1. Volume 2. ISBN 978-1-887368-76-6. Volume 3. ISBN 978-1-887368-82-7. Volume 4. ISBN 978-1-887368-92-6. Volume 5. ISBN 978-1-934267-00-4. Volume 6. ISBN 978-1-934267-06-6. Volume 7. ISBN 978-1-934267-15-8. Anchor, Roger, ed. The Twilight Zone Scripts of Charles Beaumont, Volume 1. Colorado Springs, Colorado, Gauntlet Press. ISBN 978-1-887368-73-5. DeVoe, Bill. Trivia from The Twilight Zone. Albany, Georgia, Bear Manor Media. ISBN 978-1-59393-136-0. Grams, Martin. The Twilight Zone, Unlocking the Door to a Television Classic. Churchville, Maryland, OTR Publishing. ISBN 978-0-9703310-9-0. Presnell, Don and Marty McGee. A Critical History of Television. Unregistered trademark S. The Twilight Zone, 1959. 1964. Jefferson, North Carolina, McFarland. ISBN 978-0-7864-3886-0. Ramage, Andrew. Forgotten Gems from the Twilight Zone Volume 1. Albany, Bear Manor Media. ISBN 978-1-59393-014-1. Ramage, Andrew. Forgotten Gems from the Twilight Zone Volume 2. Albany, Bear Manor Media. ISBN 978-1-59393-030-1. Soho, Jerry. The Twilight Zone Scripts of Jerry Soho. Albany, Bear Manor Media. ISBN 978-1-59393-010-3. Stanyard, Stuart T. Dimensions Behind the Twilight Zone, a backstage tribute to television's groundbreaking series. ECW Press. ISBN 978-1-55022-744-4. Wieter, Stanley, ed. Richard Matheson's The Twilight Zone Scripts, Volume 1. Colorado Springs, Colorado, Gauntlet Press. ISBN 978-1-887-368-42-1. Wieter, Stanley, ed. Richard Matheson's The Twilight Zone Scripts, Volume 2. Colorado Springs, Colorado, Gauntlet Press. ISBN 978-1-887-368-52-0. Zicree, Mark Scott. The Twilight Zone Companion. First edition, Bantam Books. ISBN 978-0-553-01416-7. Second edition. Silman James Press. ISBN 978-1-879505-09-4. External links: The Twilight Zone at the Internet Movie Database, The Twilight Zone at DMOZ, Encyclopedia of Television, Twilight Zone Sci-Fi.com page, The Twilight Zone Revisited.